This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey, this is Leon Saver, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. The trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with Leon Saver.
That's right. Leon Saver's in the house. Let's do this. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Could you tell us where Leon is saving us next event-wise?
Well, Leon Saver will be in action in Quebec City on August 23rd at Stade Canac for the 500th show for NSPW, North Shore Pro Wrestling, which will be the next day that I will be in action. And I can't wait. It's going to be a packed show in front of a lot of people. It's in a baseball stadium. It's always a great atmosphere down there. And I'm looking very forward to that show.
Okay, and where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook at leon.saver. But that's for Instagram. On Facebook, Leon Saver directly. Merchandise, I'm still in the process of creating some new shirts. So as soon as just stand by, and as soon as it's ready, you'll have all the infos and the announcement on social media, Facebook, X, or Instagram.
Okay, and you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox.
Perfect.
Alright, let's get into it. Most recently, you wrestled Mustafa Ali. What was that experience like?
So I wrestled Mustafa Ali back in January, and I believe it's really the biggest match I had in my career. Which will be spanning almost 16 years now, back in September. It was a great experience. The guy was very nice to hang out with. When he got to the show, he just started talking about life in general. Guy was very down to earth. He has a great list of accomplishments being in WWE and all the matches that he's done there, and the great matches he's done before that and after that. No, he was a very great guy, and just being in the ring with him was something. And it really shows you how much hard work pays off. And because I haven't had the opportunity to wrestle a lot of guys that's been in the WWE before. I've wrestled Gangrel last year, which was also a great experience. But with Mustafa Ali, it was rough in the ring. Everything was laid in perfectly, and it was a lot of fun. I hope that the crowd really enjoyed it on that night.
And you mentioned the match with Gangrel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it actually rained during your match, no?
Yes, it was a pouring rain during that show, which was called Golden Opportunity 14, which was at Stade Canac, where I'll be in action on August 23rd. It was raining during the show, and it was an outdoor show, and we were looking at the fact that could we possibly do the show the next day. But then the next day, myself and Gangrel were booked on another show in Montreal, so we had to travel down in Montreal after that, which is about a 3-hour drive. So it was very complicated to fix everything out. So finally, we ended up still doing the show. We got the canvas cleaned up a little bit. Still slippery a little, but it was still a fun experience to do a match with Gangrel in that the pouring rain, which was kind of like adding a special effect to the match, if we could say that.
Right.
But yeah, it was very fun.
Wrestling a vampire in the rain.
Yeah, I actually brought a cross with me just to make sure that he didn't bite me. We had garlic ready, and he just slapped it right off. So I doubt that he's a real vampire.
No, obviously, wrestling, just normally is, you have to be careful. But how do you adjust your style of wrestling when, obviously there's an added factor of rain?
I'm a firm believer of always being safe, and knowing that it's raining and it's slippery, we'll adjust certain movements. I'll try not to run as much, knowing that my boots are very slippery on the wet canvas. So it's always like to think forward about what's the next move I'm going to do and how's the safest way to do it, by also protecting my opponents, because I can have someone on my shoulders, and if I slip or anything and I drop him, well, I still might injure him at the same time. So it's always being careful and knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and not try to do anything special or crazy, knowing that there's a situation that's playing against us. So the match we did was very good with what we had. We still were able to run and do all the crazy stuff that we wanted to do on that match. We just had to be a little bit more careful with the execution.
Okay. Now, can you tell us about your relationship with your stablemates in Les VIP, Mitch Thompson, Oliver Strange, and Frank Milano?
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, the VIP, we actually have disbanded since there was in Battle War. Oliver Strange has been out of action since the pandemic. I believe he has become a father of 2 kids. So he's mainly focusing right now on raising his kids, which is all right. It's fun. I hope him the best. I still get in touch with him sometimes. He wants to get back to wrestling in the near future, so we'll see how that goes. But Frank Milano was forced to be in the VIPs, as we were in a feud, me and Mitch Thompson against him, and if we were to defeat him, then he would have to join our crew, which we did. So he was part of our team, but was not really cooperative with what we were telling him to do. So that created a lot of heat during the matches between me and him. At one point where we couldn't deal with it anymore, and we offered him a tag match that he had to find a partner of his choosing. And if he were to defeat us, then he would be left out of the group, and we would have to disband, myself and Mitch Thompson. So he did find a partner in Carl Jepsen, which is the big black beast of Quebec wrestling, probably one of the best wrestlers that we have on the scene. And we got our asses handed to us. So we lost that match. And so yeah, it was a fun trip. Me and Mitch, we've been teaming up in Battle War for about close to 5 years at this point. So we had to split with the VIPs. It was still a fun time with him, still get in touch with him. Still great friends. We love to work together. We've been working together elsewhere in other places in Quebec, so we're still having a lot of fun together. And now I have my new crew in Battle War with Casey Diamond, Dylan Donovan, and Jan Pike with the Wonder Boys, and it's an amazing time. Battle War is the place to be.
All right. Now, you actually wrestled Colt Cabana for the NWA World Championship.
Yep.
Obviously the NWA Championship, one of the biggest, championships in pro wrestling. So what did it kind of mean to you to wrestle for that championship?
That meant a lot, actually. When I learned that I was going to wrestle Colt Cabana for the NWA Heavyweight Championship, So I remember that was back in, I believe, 2012, I believe, 2010. So when I was brought up, I went to the promoter on one day, and I told him, hey, I know you have this show in, I believe it was in April, and I told him, hey, in April, I might not be able to make it because I'm maybe going to travel to Timmins, Ontario with Don Paisan and a few other guys for a show back there. And he's like, well, that kind of like breaks the plans. I'm like, what do you mean? What are the plans? And told me, well, I have Colt Cabana coming over, and I was thinking about having him wrestle you. So I'm like, okay. And I told him, like, isn't he the NWA heavyweight champion? He's like, yes, he is. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to Timmins anymore. So, so I did the match, and I believe I'm probably one or maybe the first or second guy in Quebec to have a chance for the NWA heavyweight championship. And there's a lot of prestige coming into the match. So I know that all the people that had that title in the past, like Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, all those guys. So I knew like there was a lot of pressure on that match, and I had to make sure to deliver a match that was NWA heavyweight championship type quality, which I believe we've done.
You know, being in the ring, you know, competing for, you know, one of the most prestigious titles in pro wrestling, is that a moment you take in the moment, or is that something that kind of sets in afterwards, like, wow, I did that?
It's kind of both, I would say. It's something that you take in to see the actual NWA champion coming down to the ring to actually share the spotlight with you. But it's also something that you're taking in the moment after saying, I did it. I did a match for that. And I'm very highly critical of my work. So I would say, like, I should have done that different or short. So sometimes it actually plays against the fact of enjoying the moment. But now with time and everything that passed, you know, I have more experience now and everything. I realized that it was a very important moment in my career, and it was a very fun time to be around. And yeah, and all hats off to CRW for letting me having that match.
Hell yeah. Now another big name you've been in the ring with, Too Cold Scorpio. What was that like?
That wasn't as fun as I hoped it would be. Too Cold Scorpio was very nice to me backstage before the match. Everything went fine. We were talking about the match. Going through the match was good. Guys got a little bit rough in the ring, but, you know, that's wrestling. You know, we're not doing ballet. So the match was pretty stiff, hard-hitting. It was fun. But in the end, I ended up breaking my collarbone, which needed surgery. And when I broke my collarbone, I went to see him, and I said, hey, look, thanks for the match and everything. And he's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I believe I might be injured. I think I broke my collarbone. He's like, okay. And he didn't care about it.
Wow.
So then I'm like, okay, well, that sucks, you know. But at the same time, you know, he's seen other people, so he's been everywhere. So I understand it's not for him to, like, feel bad for me or anything. Or maybe just a little I'm sorry would have been nice. So I got surgery for that. I was out of wrestling for about 5 months. And he got back to one of the shows I was on. And I went to see him, and I shook his hand. I was like, hey, Charles, how's it going? And he's like, hi, my name is Charles. So he didn't even recognize me. So I'm like, I know, we've wrestled here. And he's like, have we? I'm like, okay, that's the last conversation I had with him. So I'm like, you know what? It was nice to be in the ring with Too Cold Scorpio. It was a good experience. But I still have a bitter taste in my mouth about the after of the match.
I gotcha. Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you actually did a seminar with Ring of Honor, no?
Yes, I did a 3-day camp with TDT, Thomas Dubois, and Mathieu Saint-Jacques back in 2012 also. The camp was for 2 days. I was in Bristol, Pennsylvania. All the coaches that were there there was Michael Elgin that was there, which I shared multiple locker rooms with. Roderick Strong was there, Delirious, Brutal Bob Evans, and it was just a very it was a hard weekend. Not hard as if like it's hard to keep up or anything. Like these guys were professionals, and they made sure that we were being taken care of. But just the amount of knowledge that you had to take in was just tremendous and very, very highly. There was so many information that was coming in, so you're trying to assimilate, and there's more coming in. So it was a fantastic experience. Really enjoyed that, and it's fun that I was able to share that with other people that I actually travel with to this day, and we still talk about it sometimes. The road trip that we had for that time. It just creates great memories, and to know that I've done that I mean, it's an experience that not a lot of people have. So it's fun for me because I'm a guy who wants to give out to other people. So knowing that there are younger generations, younger wrestlers are coming on the scene, and I had the opportunity to learn that, well, it's time for me to actually teach them how to do this stuff. And this is something that I really, really enjoy doing.
And I mean, yeah, when it comes to, Ring of Honor, trainers, I mean, Brutal Bob, Delirious, Roderick Strong, I don't think it gets too much bigger than that, right?
Well, it's pretty big. And like I said, Michael Olgan was there. One of the senior referees was there. Kevin Kelly was there for promo work. Everything was fine. They asked me to cut a promo, and I cut a promo on Kevin Steen. And I knew Kevin Steen from there, from before that, because we were from the same town, and we wrestled once or twice with Kevin. And I told him that I was doing this Ring of Honor camp. And he's like, great, this is going to be a great learning experience for you and everything. That was fun. And after that, he heard about the promo and just sent me a text like, hey, that was a good promo. Good thing you shot on me. And then we just laughed about it. That was fun.
And, Kevin Steen, you've been in the ring with him multiple times. Obviously Kevin Owens, big name. What was that like?
It was fun. It was just fun. Like the first time I was going to share the ring with him, I'm not sure if the first time was I know I had a tag match with him. It was me and Pat Skills against Kevin Steen and Sexxxy Eddy, which is a guy that trained me, and I believe you had him on your show also.
Yes.
So I wrestled that match. That was very fun. Then there was another match where there was a show in TOW that I was not booked on at the beginning. But then Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pum, was supposed to be on the show, couldn't make it through customs. I don't know what the situation was. So I ended up having a match on that show, but everything, the whole card just changed. I was now in a four-way, myself against Mitch Thompson, against Mike Bailey, against Kevin Steen. So it doesn't get any bigger than that. So that was a great experience also, knowing that I have all this high-quality wrestlers in the match. And then I finally ended up having the chance of having a singles match with Kevin, which, like I said, everything with him is just so awesome. Like, you have to stress about having to wrestle a guy like him, and he just puts you right down to your spot. Like, man, you're probably one of the best guys around. So why are you being nervous? Everything's going to go well. And I know I trust you. You trust me. Everything will go smoothly. And he was right. He's legit one of the best.
Oh, yeah. Now, another big name that you've shared the ring with is Lanny Poffo. You was in a six-man against him. What was it like sharing the ring with the Genius?
That was fun. I remember that show because there was this big hurricane in Haiti, and we were trying to raise funds for the show, and Lanny Poffo got in touch with the promoter saying, this is a great cause, and I would like to be a part of it.
Oh, wow.
So he flew down from Florida, and so the first thing I thought, like, okay, Lanny Poffo's going to be there. It's going to be great. I'm going to be able to go pick his brain and see anything if I can learn from that. But never was I thinking that I was going to work with him on that day. So when I got there, they had this collegiate hat for graduation hat. And I was like, all right, Leon, we're going to have you do a promo with Lanny, and you're going to say how you saw him defeat Hulk Hogan on Saturday Night's Main Event and all this stuff. But then I was like, okay, and I have to say, okay, so I watched it on TV, everything was nice. But then Lanny would call me a liar saying, you weren't even born when that happened, which was right. I wasn't. So that was like a funny entertainment spot to do. And it's like, okay, but then he tells me I'm a liar. So I got like my crew, like just to jump in. It was like, you know, this world is better off without you. You're claiming you're a liar. You're not a genius anymore. If you were a genius, you would see that coming, blah, blah, blah. And we had the match after that, which was, we're doing two shows on the same day, a show at 2 and a show at, I believe, 7. So we wrestled on the evening show. And the six-man tag was great. I still don't understand how Lanny Poffo, which was 55 at the time, could do a moonsault from the top rope without knee pads.
Oh, yeah.
Not getting hurt. That's I was very impressed of. And after the match, he took me aside, had some great words for me that I would share. I will remember this moment forever, forever. And I've seen him, I believe, was in 2013 when I went to WrestleMania 29, and there was the Wrestle Access or WrestleCon, I believe.
Yeah, WrestleCon.
And he was there, and he actually saw me. He's like, "Hey, Leon, how's it going?" And we started chatting, and he told me that his brother actually saw the match. So I know that Macho Man actually saw one of my matches. So it was like, okay, my career is done. Like, that's good. If I don't get any further, I still have that. So that's good.
Ooh, yeah.
Exactly. Macho Man was the man.
Funky like a monkey.
Exactly. Oh, there were so many catchphrases. We would still be here tomorrow morning if we were to listen.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, you mentioned him a little bit earlier, and you've had quite the interesting amount of matches with this person. Can you tell us about your relationship with Sexxxy Eddy?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, honestly, there is no Leon Saver without Sexxxy Eddy. Just plain and simple. I was 10 years old when I met him. He was taking bumps on blue mats right next to his house. And I was just looking at it. I was like, what are you doing? I'm taking bumps. I'm a wrestler. And I always wanted to wrestle my whole life. So I told him, oh, yeah, well, I want to be a wrestler too, and blah, blah, blah. And then we started talking about wrestling, and he understood that, okay, he knows a lot of stuff. So he offered to just teach me how to bump when I was 10. But then he does that, and then I speak with some friends, and then I go and knock on his door, and he lends me tapes of what he's doing. Then he's bringing me to shows. So I formed a great friendship with him. Even though I was a little kid, he was still doing everything for me for wrestling, because he knew that sometimes in life you never know the impact that you can have on someone else.
Right.
And he clearly had a great impact on my life. And because of him, I was able to get into professional wrestling on the scene, on the independent scene in Quebec wrestling. Made a name for myself. But as much as it still happens to this day, whenever I have a show and Eddie's on it, I'll always offer him a ride. I'll go and get him at his house. And we'll drive around. We'll have some fun. We'll have a few beers. And anytime I would thank him for what he's done for me. And he's such a lovely man, and he's so humble that he's like, I just gave you a little part, but that all the rest you did by yourself. But still, without his guidance, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be where I am today. So, like I said at the beginning, there is no Leon Saver without Sexxxy Eddy.
I believe you used to call yourself Sexy Leon Saver at one point. The way that he spells it.
Yeah, the same way, because the thing what we did is we had this rivalry together, and after we had like a series of 3 matches. The first match I've won with my manager causing him to win. And then I was always like wearing like a tuxedo or a suit whenever I was going to these shows. And then he once attacked me, and then he started ripping my suit off. So then I challenged him to a tuxedo match, a match that he won. And now I was like, okay, so it's 1-1. Then what we do? And he's like, well, you know what? You challenged me into your little things with your suits. Well, now you're going to have to wrestle me in the matches that I've made that are my forte. So I had to wrestle him in a hardcore match. And it was Eddie's idea for the hardcore match. We used thumbtacks. He said, what are you comfortable with? What are you not comfortable with? So I'm like, all right, thumbtacks is good. I'm not interested in light tubes and barbed wire and all this stuff. So like, no worries, we'll have this match. And I was going to win the hardcore match. And so we did the match. I win the hardcore match. And when we got backstage, Eddie got to me and he's like, you just defeated me. You're still new on the scene, so people don't really know you. So how about you use the Sexxxy name and use it and use me as, well, I defeated him, so I took that name. It's my right. And I had that, and that created a lot of heat for some places because people thought I was just imitating him, which I was not. I was creating my own path using his name under his willingness for me to be able to like just get a little step up. And as we were going, then at the same time, I'm not really working the sexy gimmick anymore. So I just slowly faded it out and took it out. And still, we had this storyline that Eddie was actually my biological father. We had this crazy story behind that. I wouldn't go into details as it was just like nonsense stuff, but it was great. And it's always an honor to share the ring with Sexxxy Eddy. Always. And I say it anytime. My main goal in wrestling is to make sure I retire after him. But he's going to wrestle till like he's 70, I believe. So I still have a lot of years coming.
Okay. And that's just awesome. You know, Eddie giving you the sexy moniker. That's incredible.
Yeah, that was a great sign of respect, and I appreciate everything he's done for me. And I still do to this day. He's just amazing.
Now let's go to Leon's bizarre adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
The craziest thing. I mean, when we went to the Ring of Honor camp, we had a flat tire, so that got us 3 hours late to one of the camps we wanted to go. But we were still in time. But we wanted to get to Philadelphia around 8, but we got there around midnight. That's one thing. But like a crazy and bizarre, I would say there was a show that was booked, and it was a 5-hour drive from where I was, and we drove to the venue, and actually, when we got there, there was no ring trucks, no nothing, no signs of a wrestling show. So the promoter just told us like, hey, we will meet there. And when we got there, there was no show. So we drove 5 hours. And then as soon as we wanted to get back to the promoter, like just to send him like, hey, what's up? Do we have the right address or anything? He blocked us from everywhere. We could never reach the promoter from back then.
Wow.
So that was like, I believe like that is the weirdest thing. So to have a lot of guys drive to a venue and then you canceling the show, or if the show actually even was on at some point, but you just cancel it and you don't let anybody know. That's a 5-hour drive. Like we all put the gas in and we all spent like, that was a day that we could have wrestled somewhere else, but we decided to take that booking instead and nothing happened. So I believe that is the weird, but probably like the most frustrating thing that happened to me.
Yeah, I could definitely. I mean, that sounds like a really terrible rib.
I don't know, and it was just never seen or heard about this promoter ever again. But if I ever hear about him or know that he's back on it, there's some payoff coming out. So there's money there that you still owe me. So you're gonna pay me before you do your own show. And trust me, there's a lot of other guys who you have to pay for.
Oh yeah.
So.
Now, keeping up on names you've met, you met the iconic Roddy Piper. What was that like?
That was fun. He was very open to people, and you know, a guy of his stature. I believe that I'm a firm believer that without Roddy Piper, there is no WrestleMania. I understand people are like, oh yeah, but Hulk Hogan that, Hulk Hogan this. Yeah, but Hulk Hogan needed a villain to work, and Roddy Piper was the perfect villain. He was a very humble guy. It was very easy of approach. You would just go to him and he would talk with you right away, and there were no taboos. You could ask him whatever questions. He was there to listen and answer you or put you back in something. If something you did wrong, he watched a few matches. If there were things that he didn't like, he would come and tell you right away. And he was always saying it in a very respectful way, which was kind of like, I've met a lot of wrestlers in the past, at least back then, and he was probably one of the nicest, knowing that he's one that had like the biggest reputation in wrestling. So sometimes, like, if he's that nice of a guy, then why is it that the other guy who barely was in wrestling for like 3 years has a bad attitude, or just like doesn't really give a damn about what he's doing? He's just there for the paycheck and leaves.
Right.
So That was fun. Like I have great memories of Roddy Piper on the time I've met him. He was a fantastic guy.
All right. Now, can you tell us about your love of horror?
Well, I've been a horror fan since I can remember. I believe I was 5, and my father had this TV box where we could watch like a lot of like movies and pay-per-views and all this stuff. And back when I was 5, that was in 1997, 98. And this is when Halloween, 20 years later, got out. And I would just remember waking up one morning. It was, I believe, like probably been 5 in the morning. And I just was zapping on TV. And then I ended up watching Halloween for the first time. And I believe probably at some point I must have had the sound too high or something. And then that woke my father up. And my father came in the living room to see what's happening. And he sees that I'm watching TV. He's like, hey, Leon, why don't you go to bed? And then he turns around. And as he turns around, it's the scene in Halloween 20 years later where Jamie Lee Curtis actually decapitates Michael Myers with the axe. And he just closes the TV right away, being panicked. He's like, you shouldn't be watching this. And I'm like, well, Dad, it's all right. I've already watched it 3 times. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, it's fun. I love this movie. Aren't you like afraid? He's like, no, well, I feel like this rush, but no, I'm not afraid. So since then I realized like, okay, and my father had a big movie collection. So we still waited till I was a little bit older. Like he didn't start putting like horror movies in my face at 5. But when I was like 7, 8, it's like, hey, sure, you love horror movies. Like, yeah, but I didn't get to watch a lot because my mom is not really letting me. It's like, well, I'll watch one with you. If you're afraid or anything, let me know. We'll stop the movie. Like, okay, no problem. Then we watched one, and the second one, and the third one. It's like, okay, so then this love for horror movies just got there, and it just kept going and kept going. And up to this day, I'm still a big, big horror fan.
Would I be right in saying Halloween is your favorite?
Yes. Halloween's the classic that started everything, so it has to be on top.
That being said, Halloween's End, mixed reviews. Did you see it, and what did you think?
I saw it. I feel like it was different, which is a good thing. I know a lot of people didn't really like it for the way that it was, but you know, at the same time, it just at the end of the movie, the thing that I understand is that evil is not about a person. You know, like, oh, but Michael Myers, the evil has pure rage. You know, but evil is just something. It's not someone. So the fact that then you got this guy who impregnated Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter, and he turns out to be Michael Myers' like sidekick or like protege. That just brings a lot of things that could happen if you were to do another Halloween movie. But what if Michael Myers is actually just a name and not someone else? If it's just a name, Michael Myers is the evil thing. So anybody could wear a mask. Anybody could be referred to Michael Myers. Anybody could be referred to the Shape, which was the original name for him. So everything still works and everything is different. And I feel like this is the thing that most people were angry about, is that it was so different. But at the same time, you already had 2 movies come out before this one was done.
That's right.
What if the third movie was alike the first one and the second one? What was the point of the third one? Where are you going with this? It's. I see it kind of like in wrestling. You had so many times you had Triple H against Shawn Michaels. What if every matches they've done was similar? Would they have the same impact? If you watch better option, if you watch Stone Cold and The Rock, WrestleMania 15, WrestleMania 17, and WrestleMania 19, if those matches are all similar, what's special about it?
Right.
There's nothing special about it. Reinvent yourself. Recreate something new. Show us something different. And that's what they did with Halloween Ends. I love that they did that. That was a gutsy move, and I'm all for it. And I'm waiting to see if there's other things Halloween coming up. I heard about maybe a TV series of Halloween, which I'm looking forward to. it's just enjoy what you have and make sure that everything is different. Because if it's not, then it's the same thing all over again. And I don't want to spend for that. I want to see something different every time. And they gave me that, and I was happy with it.
And I love how you just brought it right back around to pro wrestling as well.
Everything involves pro wrestling. My whole life is all about pro wrestling. It's what I've done, like, as long as I can remember. I remember I was like 5 years old, like just coming out of my room, and my mom had bought 3 VHS, and it was Royal Rumble 96, WrestleFest 95, and King of the Ring 97, and WrestleMania 12. WrestleMania 12 was that. So those are the first shows I watched. And since then
those are pretty good ones. Those are good ones.
They were pretty good, to get to see. Like, of course, like at first you don't understand a Iron Man match. Like, why is the match so long when you're young? But then as you watch it and you're in the business and you watch it, man, was it good.
Oh yeah, you want to appreciate it.
It was so great. It's amazing.
Now, keeping up on horror, you and your love of Halloween, it is immortalized on your skin, no?
Yes, I have a few horror characters on my right arm. I have Michael Myers at the top of the shoulder. Right under is Pennywise, the clown from It. Under Pennywise, I have Freddy Krueger. And in the inside of my arm, I have Jason on the side of my elbow. And what I like about it is that Pennywise and Freddy and Jason, between them, there was an open gap on my arm. Which is like, okay, but what do we fill it up with? We could just put some dark ink and just to have it show. But then my tattoo artist said, what if we were to put Chucky in there? Just half the face, because Chucky's like all this sneaky little toy, and how would that fit? And I love the idea. So I have also Chucky on the inside of my upper arm, and around my wrist, I have the nun. So it's a Balak in the Conjuring universe.
And you've gotten all of these, like, roughly in the last, 2-3 years, no?
Yeah, I had the first one about 2 years and a half ago, and I still am planning on having 2 others added on the inside of my bicep. I'm thinking about Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Ghostface from the Scream franchise.
Oh yeah. What kind of, because again, it was your you just started this a couple years ago. What kind of inspired you to just get mainly all horror icons on your arm?
Can you repeat that question? I didn't hear you properly.
Yeah. What kind of inspired you to get these tattoos?
It's part of me. And, I have all those tattoos around. Well, I have like a few tattoos on me. I have a wrestling ring on my left ankle. I have this hourglass at the back of my calf, which the hourglass, both like the top part and the bottom part, forms the infinity signal, which is something that my father taught me a lot about. And the time, which is lapsing, as my father always told me, like, time, you don't have all the time that you want. Whenever you want to do something, do it as quickly as possible, because you never know. Like, tomorrow is not granted. So make sure you do it now. Enjoy your life now. And since my father passed about 3 years ago from throat cancer, I have another tattoo in my back. My father was a Libra. So I have this shadowy figure holding 2 scales in each arm for the Libra sign. And I wanted to have it on my back because my father always had my back. So it's kind of like my father holding the 2 scales and showing me, like, this is life. And so I have this tattoo in the back, and I have all those horror tattoos, because horror tattoos is part of me. If I don't speak about wrestling, I speak about horror movies most likely. So, it's part of me, and I just felt like, all right, I want to do it. I was the only brother in my family that didn't have any tattoos, so I'm like, all right, I want one. And it's like, what's the first thing that has a significance? Like, it has to signify something for you. And it's like, great, start with the horror movies, because that's pretty much a lot of part of me. So helped me growing up. Growing up, I was always watching horror movies, and That was fun. I love those movies, and it's a good thing to have them on my arm instead of having tribals and things that have no value or no signification.
Right. All right. And it seems like you already have the next two planned as well.
Yep, everything's planned out. Everything's fun, and life is just good.
Well, I think that's a great segue into the colossal question: from horror movies to a movie about you. Let's say they're making it. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I listen to everything, so it'd probably be like a weird combination of stuff. Probably like the first song would probably be a country song, then you have a heavy metal song, and then probably like a Rick Astley song, most likely. So I just listen to a lot of things. It's kind of hard to put an actual song on it. That's too hard to say. It's it's a good question.
So I mean, you got Rick Astley in there. Some Never Gonna Give You Up.
Oh, of course, that has to be there. It's a classic. It's a classic. But it all depends. It's about my character, if it's about wrestling, or if it's about just my life. If it's about my life, there would be "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing" from Aerosmith.
Okay.
Because that was the main song for the movie Armageddon, which was my father's favorite movie, and then we watched it so many times. So I feel like there's this sentimental value attached to this song, so this has to be in there. Then country was coming from my mother, and my mother was always a big country music fan. And I remember growing up, I hated it. And then as I was growing up, I was like, no, actually, this has a kick to it. And now I'm hooked. I love country music. So probably like a country song in there. And probably another song that represents me and my brother, but I couldn't really put a finger on exactly what that song would be.
Okay, so you kind of know what the beats are, but not exactly the song itself.
Exactly.
Okay. Now that we have the soundtrack partially down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays you, and you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo?
I would say who plays me is Ryan Reynolds. I just find it funny, and I love him as an actor. So I feel that would be fun. I know he's very funny to me. Like, I'm a guy who's always about having fun, so I feel like that would be a good fit. Just have him play me.
Yeah.
I'll be laughing and have a joke about it.
Now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you in your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
Do they have to be actual actors? Because for sure I'd love to have Sexxxy Eddy in one of those roles.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't have to be wrestlers, no.
Okay. So I'd have Sexxxy Eddy in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Eddie's a funny character all by himself. Inside and outside the ring, he's just crazy funny. The other 2 significant. I'd say my brothers. I like to have my brothers in there because I'm very close with my brothers, and I wouldn't have been able to overcome my father's passing without their support, and I feel leaving them out of this is a total nonsense. So I would say Eddie and my 2 brothers.
Okay, and do we have actors to play your brothers, or leave that to casting?
Well, for my brother, I know that one of my brother's favorite actors is Hugh Jackman, so Wolverine. So I guess let's have Hugh Jackman take his spot.
Okay.
And my other brother, who could play him? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I probably just get an actor that has a receding hairline because he's losing all his hair. I have maybe Jason Statham in there just to make fun of his hair again because I have long hair and he's losing his. So I love to brag him about it. Yeah, I would say that. That's a funny part.
Well, it has Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman in it, and obviously Sexxy Eddy, so it's going to be a blockbuster to say the least.
Of course, this movie's gonna top the charts.
Oh yeah, and you could pre-order the tickets now.
Oh, of course, you have to.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us about that time you sank your ball from the 12th hole while on the 11th?
From what?
Can you tell us about that time you sank your ball from the 12th hole while on the 11th? You were golfing, and you sank your ball in the lake.
Yeah, let's just say that I'm a far better wrestler than a golfer. And I just suck at golfing. Okay, the last time I went to play, I broke my driver, and the end of the club went further than the ball.
Wow.
That tells you how much. And I was on this hole, I believe it was in Terrebonne, and I believe I was on the 11th hole, but I don't remember exactly the hole itself. But I was there, and I just smacked the ball, and it fell in the lake 2 holes next. So the next 2 holes. And I just look at that, I was like, even if I wanted to do this, I would have never been able to. So I feel like as much as this shot sucked, I feel it's one of my best shots ever anyway. And that was just great. And I'm always having a laugh. Whenever I go play golf, I love it. I'm bad at it, but it's always a fun time because I get to spend time with some friends and have fun and play along and just, being ridiculed on the court, on the field, because it's just bad. And as much as we're trying to do something, it's like, okay, look, I'll have this one, and then I get on the green finally, and then I do a 3-putt thing, and it's like, okay, I hate it. But then it's on to the next hole, and I love it again, and then I lose about 5, 6, 7 balls on the same front 9, and then all right, on the back 9, I'll try not to lose some balls. So I get to lose one, but then I sometimes find new ones, or I'll just see someone on the side of the water pit, and you know what? I'm just gonna dig up a few balls because I have some left. And I can't buy balls every time I play, so I got a few balls like that, some freebies here and there. That was good, but do not invite me for your golf tournament because I know I'll be ending up last.
Okay. Well, since you are a Canadian from Canada, I do have 2 Canadian exclusive questions for you.
Sure, go ahead.
The first one being, poutine. Where is the best place to get it?
Poutine. It depends. There's a few good places. It's funny because sometimes you'll get food trucks, and those places rocks, and you have good poutines there. I had some at a restaurant called Coupé Douette. It's an Asian restaurant. They just add some fried pork or fried beef in the poutine, and it's just amazing. It's just so good. It's one of the best I've had in my entire life. But the best, it's hard to say. There's so many good places and sometimes food trucks, but I don't remember their names. But I remember there was a food truck with pulled pork in their poutine, and it was the amount was a little sweet, but there was a great kick of spice that was amazing. So this has to be one of the best I've had, but I don't remember the name of that food truck.
I mean, I feel like just poutine from a food truck in general would be really good.
Oh, they are. They're amazing. They're just great.
All right. And the second question is Canada's greatest national treasure, Ryan Reynolds.
Well, I believe if he's not, then he's in the top 3 for sure. I mean, he's just so good. But at the same time, I'm very high on professional wrestling, and we also have Bret Hart.
Right.
So it's hard. A lot of national treasures, but then there's hockey, there's Sidney Crosby, there's so many things. But like, to me, it's wrestling and movies. I would say Bret Hart and Ryan Reynolds, they're probably pretty high up there.
Okay. Now, on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Absolutely. If you're just judging pineapple on pizza, I love the mix of sweet and salty. If you've never tried it, put pineapple on your pizza and add some sriracha sauce on it. It's going to change the whole game. And this is how I got to enjoy pineapple and pizza. And now I don't even put sriracha on it anymore. And I know my Italian friend right now is probably wanting to cuss me out and try to beat me up. But still, I'm going to say it. Pineapple belongs on pizza.
All right, so we are very pro pineapple on pizza.
And if you're not sure about it, add some sriracha. Believe me, it does the trick.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
Spirit Pokemon? I'm always tired, so I guess Snorlax, but I don't get to sleep that much.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's still who you identify with, so hell yeah, Snorlax.
I just want to sleep, but I don't get that.
Oh man, I relate to that.
There's just so many things to do. Go to work, then I got to work out, hit the gym, get on the road, wrestle. There's no time to sleep. I'll have more time when I retire.
Which is no time soon because you have to outlast Sexxxy Eddy.
Exactly. So as long as he's not retiring, I'm still in the game.
Yep. Now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
I don't think I do, unfortunately.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a Doug can't spell.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yes.
That's great. Actually, I love that.
We love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. We're trying to keep the memory alive.
Oh, it's great. And Tracy was a great guy. One of my roommates, his name was Shane Hawk. I don't know if you had him on your show, but he wrestled in Chicago a lot of times. So he got to share the ring and locker rooms with Tracy Smothers, and he would always tell me how great of a guy he was. So it's a good thing to keep his memory alive.
Shane Hawk's the head trainer at IWS, right?
Yeah, head trainer of IWS. He was a roommate of mine. He's a great friend. Love him to death. He trained Kristara also, which I know you had on your show.
Yes.
He is one of the main producers for the IWS, which is a very great place also to work. I love being there. I love hanging out with the guys over there at IWS. They're always they're like family to me, and they're always fun to be around. And Shane Hawk is the man. Probably the best coach there is in Quebec for sure. And I could even say Canada. I wouldn't even bet on it. He's just the best. He's great. He's made for this.
Hell yeah. Definitely have to get him on, get that Tracy Smothers story.
Invite him. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to enlighten you on a few Tracy Smothers stories.
Oh, that sounds like a good time to me. Alright, weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
Of course. That'd be great. I'd love it. I've had a few people come to me and say, Leon could wrestle a broomstick and the match would still be good. So, yeah, I'd make that Rock look like $1 million.
Alright, well, just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Well, that's good. Was that for Mystery Wrestling?
No, Backyard Pro.
Okay. But Psycho Mike was actually at the Ring of Honor camp that I went back in 2012. Yeah, so Mike and I shared a few locker rooms. I haven't got the chance to speak a lot with him, but what he's doing, he's on the roll. He's very good at what he does, and I wish him all the best.
You know, I'm just glad that he's actually wrestling human beings, because all of the matches I've seen, it involved a Rock, his evil twin, and a dog.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, when you were trained by Harley Race, apparently, you're on another level.
Oh, of course. That helps. That's for sure. If you get to have Harley Race as one of your trainers, it's tough not to be good. It really is.
Now, on a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's a good question. I see myself still being an active wrestler, whichever where, if I made it to the big leagues or not. I just want to be healthy and enjoy what I'm doing. That's all there is to it. It's all about having fun. If I don't have fun anymore, I don't want to be in it. And I don't want to feel like being miserable for the other guys in the back, during backstage or on the shows. You got to remember always that there are people that are paying their hard-earned money to come and see me. So, or me or anybody else that's on the show. So you got to make sure that you enjoy what you do. Because if you don't, then someone else will do it. And I feel like this is the very important part. I want to see myself having the best time of my life.
And that's a great way to look at it. That's awesome. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about as a pro wrestler?
If I was to say a match that I've done, I would say the match with Mustafa Ali. I feel like it's a great culmination of a lot of hard work. And that is a match that people that are not necessarily wrestling fans, I know one of my brothers not that much, it's not that high on wrestling. And he saw the match and was like, man, I got to enjoy every second of it. And I feel like this is something good. If you can make a non-fan love the thing you're doing it right. And I feel like that's the best thing to do it.
And can we find this match on YouTube?
This match is not available on YouTube. It's available on IWTV. And you just have to log in, go on NSPW. I believe the show is called Kickoff 2024. And it's in the main event. Myself and Mustafa Ali tearing the house down.
Okay. Is there anything we can find on YouTube?
There are a few things, but most things on YouTube that you'll find are all very old stuff. So there's a bit of recent stuff, a little, but most of the things are like back in the early 2010s and 2011 and all those stuff.
Okay.
I believe the four-way that I spoke about, myself, Mitch Thompson, Mike Bailey, and Kevin Steen, is on YouTube.
Well, if it is indeed on YouTube, I will find the match and I will put it a link to it in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview. And definitely, if you have an IWTV subscription, definitely go check out the match with Leon against Mustafa. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom. This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Ric Flair.
Worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler. That comes to my worst wrestler. Oh. Virgil. I don't know.
I will accept that answer. You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Bryan Danielson.
If you could come
Or
out...
Shawn Michaels.
Oh.
Or Eddie Guerrero. Too many names. Go with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels.
Okay. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Past or present. Oh man, that's supposed to be a speed run, and I'm failing at this. Steve Austin.
The original version?
Yeah, the glass shatter version, not the disturbed version, like the classic 1999
Okay.
theme.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Kayfabe is still present, but not as much. Social media is killing a bit kayfabe, so.
We would have also...
Kayfabe is kind of dead.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast.
Taste great. Yeah, sure. It's been, yeah. I would say.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetables.
It is indeed a fruit. It has seeds. Tomato logic.
Huh. You got me there.
Yes, but you are a part of Squash Squad, which means a hell of a lot more. New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Not too many butt cheeks, like about 10%. Like I have one with mesh on it that you see part of my butt and stuff, which is good. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be. Your whole gimmick must not be about your butt cheeks, about what you can do also in the ring and how you present yourself.
Okay, so around 10%.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Nope, because honestly, I don't really care about Darby Allin. I'm not a big fan of his work. I respect what he does. I respect where he is, but his type is not my type. His style doesn't match with me, and I'm not a big fan of that type of match. So, no, never got to have a conversation about that.
And that's the correct answer.
Great.
And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
It was a fun time. Thanks for having me. It was always a pleasure, and hopefully maybe a part 2 will be in the works.
Oh, absolutely. And once again, where can we find all things Leon Saver on social media?
Like I said, go on Facebook, Leon Saver, on Instagram, leon.saver. You can have me on X, also at Leon Saver. These are the main 3 social medias that I use. I watch stuff on TikTok, but I haven't published anything. So that probably like Facebook and Instagram are the best part.
Okay, and merchandise is coming soon.
Yeah, I'm in the works. I'm speaking with a few guys for logos about T-shirts and stuff. So this is coming.
Okay.
And I'll make the announcement as soon as it's ready.
And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give him a damn follow, and when he gets his merchandise in, buy a damn shirt.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely. Of course, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. But on YouTube and Castbox, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us tomorrow as we interview Reese Ramon, and join us every Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Sure.
For our very special guest Leon Savo, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.